We begin every year with a sense of possibility, a clean slate, a chance to evolve, not just progress. But here's the thing most people get wrong. They set goals based on outcomes, not on intentions. They chase achievements without understanding the reason behind them. We don't need more checklists. We need more direction, more depth, and more connection to who we are becoming, not just what we're doing. This year, I want to challenge you to set goals that shape your identity, not just your calendar. Goals that build character, deepen relationships, and strengthen your foundation. Because those are the goals that actually last. Here are 8 goals that will do exactly that. 1, set a goal to understand your why. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, go to work, go home, sleep, and repeat. But they never stop to ask, why am I doing this? The most powerful goal you can set is to discover the reason you do what you do. Not your job title, not your routine, but your purpose. When you know your why, discipline follows. Clarity follows. Motivation becomes irrelevant because your direction is clear. Your why gives your life coherence. Without it, even success will feel empty too. Set a goal to develop emotional discipline. We spend so much time managing schedules, but so little time managing emotions. And yet our emotional responses determine the quality of our relationships, leadership, and decisions. Emotional discipline doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means learning to respond instead of reacting. Set the goal to pause before you speak, to reflect before you act. It's not easy, but it separates those who lead from those who merely survive. 3, set a goal to listen better. We all want to be heard, but few of us know how to listen. Listening is not the absence of speaking. It's the presence of attention. This year, set the goal to really hear the people around you. Ask more questions. Suspend judgment. Understand before responding. Listening builds trust, and trust builds teams, relationships, and communities. When people feel seen and heard, they don't just perform better, they become better. 4, set a goal to build routines that support your growth. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And those systems are built through habits and routines. Your morning, your evening, your moments of silence or focus, these are not small details, they are the architecture of your progress. So ask yourself, what am I doing daily that either reinforces my growth or erodes it? Set a goal to redesign your habits so that they serve the person you are trying to become. 5, set a goal to become a better communicator. Words create worlds. What you say, how you say it, and when you say it can build bridges or walls. Communication is not about having the right answers, it's about connecting in a meaningful way. This year, learn to speak with clarity, to express ideas with impact, to disagree without disrespect. The ability to communicate is not a soft skill, it's a power skill, and one of the most critical ones you'll ever develop. 6, set a goal to simplify. We live in a world obsessed with more speed, more content, more noise, but more doesn't always equal better. Complexity often disguises a lack of clarity. Set a goal to remove what's unnecessary. Whether it's tasks, commitments, or even relationships, simplicity is not about doing less. It's about doing what matters most. Clarity lives on the other side of simplicity. 7, set a goal to build resilience. Life is unpredictable. Pain is inevitable. What matters is how you respond to it. Resilience is not toughness. It's not pretending everything is okay. It's the capacity to move through difficulty without losing your sense of identity. Resilience comes from reflection, from asking yourself, what is this here to teach me? And using that lesson to rise, not retreat. This year, don't just avoid hardship, grow through it. 8, set a goal to contribute beyond yourself. We all want to matter, but true fulfillment comes when we shift from being the center of the story to being a part of something greater. Whether it's mentoring someone, volunteering, or simply being a consistent source of encouragement in someone's life. This year, set a goal to make a difference that outlives your own ambitions. Legacy isn't built through self-interest, it's built through service. Goals are not about controlling the future. They're about guiding your attention in the present. Choose goals that make you more aware, more grounded, more aligned with what matters. Because when you grow as a person, everything else around you changes. Not overnight, not all at once, but steadily and meaningfully. 5 keynotes of the speech, your goals should be rooted in purpose, not performance. Emotional discipline and deep listening are foundational leadership traits. Habits and routines shape your identity more than outcomes. Simplicity and clarity are more powerful than complexity and chaos. Personal growth is incomplete without contribution to others. Setting a goal to understand your why is not just a philosophical endeavor. It is a necessary foundation for everything you will do that matters. Most people begin the year by asking themselves, what do I want to achieve? They make lists of objectives, chase promotions, set financial targets, aim for fitness milestones. But they rarely stop to ask a far more important question. Why do I want these things in the first place? Without that answer, they may reach their goals and still feel hollow, disconnected, or unfulfilled. That is the danger of casing success without understanding the deeper reason behind it. Understanding your why is about discovering your internal compass. It's not just about passion or interest. It's about identifying the deep motivation that drives you even when things get hard. Your why is the purpose that makes the struggle worth it. It's the emotional fuel that powers your persistence. It's what gives meaning to the work, not just a reason to show up. And yet, this understanding is something very few people deliberately explore. They assume it will come to them someday, or they confuse it with short-term goals. But your why is not a goal, it's a direction. Goals can change, But direction gives coherence to those changes. Without direction, we risk becoming incredibly efficient at climbing the wrong ladder. When you set the goal to understand your why, you are making a conscious decision to dig deeper than surface level ambitions. That process requires reflection, patience, and brutal honesty. It often starts by looking back at the moments in your life when you felt most alive, most engaged, or most impacted. What were you doing? Who were you helping? What problem were you solving? The patterns that emerge from those reflections are not random. They are clues to your deeper motivation. They reveal what matters most to you, not what you've been told should matter, but what actually stirs something inside you. The mistake people often make is assuming their why has to sound impressive. It doesn't. It only has to be real. Some people are driven by a desire to create. Others are fueled by a need to protect, to guide, to challenge, to repair, to serve. Your why is deeply personal and not always glamorous. But once you discover it, you will notice something extraordinary. Decisions become easier. You will stop chasing distractions that look like opportunities. You will say no with more clarity and yes with more conviction. You will stop trying to be everything for everyone and instead commit to becoming exactly who you are meant to be. The reason understanding your why matters so much is because life is not a straight line. You will face setbacks. You will question your path. You will get tired, distracted, and disillusioned. And in those moments, discipline alone won't carry you through. You need something deeper than motivation. Motivation fades, but purpose doesn't. When you know your why, you can withstand almost anyhow. You won't always have external rewards to validate your efforts. But with a clear why, you don't need them. You'll already be anchored in something deeper than applause or approval. Setting this goal also changes how you relate to others. When you lead with your why, you inspire trust, not just compliance. You create connection, not just cooperation. People follow clarity, not charisma. And when they see that you are operating from a place of purpose, they will lean in, not just because of what you're doing, but because of why you're doing it. In teams, relationships, families, this is what builds loyalty and unity, shared direction, shared intention. That only happens when at least one person is brave enough to begin with purpose. Finding your why is not a one-time event. It's a journey of uncovering, refining, and reconnecting. It requires you to pause regularly and ask, is what I'm doing still aligned with who I am becoming? The world changes. Your circumstances will change. But if your direction remains consistent, you will never lose yourself in the process. That's the real power of understanding your why. It gives you a core to return to when everything else feels uncertain. So this year, don't just chase productivity. Don't just optimize your schedule. Set the goal to understand your deeper reason for being here. Because once you uncover that truth, everything else becomes a strategy, not a substitute for who you are. When you act from purpose, you don't need to force progress. It becomes a natural expression of your identity. And that is how you stop performing and start leading. From the inside out, ChatGPT said, emotional discipline is one of the most overlooked yet essential goals you can set for yourself this year. While most people focus on external goals, career growth, financial success, physical transformation, very few take the time to look inward and develop the ability to regulate their emotions. And yet emotional discipline shapes everything. It determines how we handle conflict, how we deal with stress, how we lead others, and how we respond to failure. Without it, even the most brilliant plans collapse under the weight of emotional chaos. The truth is, life will not always go the way you expect. People will disappoint you, plans will unravel, and you'll face moments of uncertainty, pressure, and rejection. In those moments, your emotional reactions are the first thing that can either elevate you or sabotage you. If you're not in control of your emotions, then your emotions are in control of you. And when you're not emotionally disciplined, small problems become big ones, misunderstandings escalate, and opportunities are lost. Not because of the situation itself, but because of how you responded to it. Emotional discipline doesn't mean pretending to be calm when you're not. It doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or becoming emotionally numb. It means being aware of your emotions without being consumed by them. It means recognizing anger, fear, envy, frustration, or anxiety when it arises, and choosing a response that aligns with your values instead of reacting impulsively. This is not easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things to master. But the people who do this well are the ones others trust in moments of pressure. They're the ones who make sound decisions in chaos. They lead not because they control others, but because they've learned to lead themselves. When you set a goal to develop emotional discipline, you are choosing growth over comfort. You are choosing reflection over reaction. This means noticing the triggers that set you off and asking yourself why they have such power over you. It means being willing to pause when you feel defensive or overwhelmed. That pause is everything. It's in that space that maturity lives. In that space, you can shift from reacting to responding. And that response can mean the difference between progress and setback, between connection and conflict, between wisdom and regret. This kind of discipline also allows you to build deeper, more stable relationships. When you're emotionally reactive, people walk on eggshells around you. They're afraid to be honest because they never know what version of you they're going to get. But when you are emotionally steady, you create safety. People know they can come to you without fear of explosions or shutdowns. They know you won't let temporary feelings destroy long-term trust. And when people feel safe, they open up, they collaborate, they grow. That's how teams thrive. That's how partnerships last. That's how leaders gain respect, not through authority, but through emotional integrity. Another benefit of emotional discipline is that it helps you stay focused. Emotional turbulence can derail your attention faster than any distraction. When you're upset, fearful, or angry, your mind becomes cluttered. Your thoughts spiral, you lose clarity, and in that fog, poor decisions are made. But when you can ground yourself emotionally, you can stay locked in on what matters most. Even in stressful environments, you're not pretending everything is fine. You're choosing to stay anchored in your values even when the emotional storm hits. That consistency is rare, and it's powerful. Practicing emotional discipline also means accepting that feelings are temporary. Emotions are real, but they are not facts. They are signals, not commands. When you learn to sit with discomfort without acting out, you develop strength. That strength builds confidence, because now, instead of being afraid of your feelings, you've learned to ride the wave without drowning in it. This is especially important when dealing with criticism, rejection, or failure, moments when our egos want to lash out or shut down. Emotional discipline allows you to absorb the experience, extract the lesson, and keep going with grace. It's easy to act composed when everything is going your way. But the real test of your character is how you behave when it isn't. Do you lash out? Do you blame others? Do you run from discomfort? Or do you face it with awareness and self-control? Emotional discipline is the difference between reacting to life and leading through it. And the people who develop this skill are the ones who make the greatest impact, not because they never feel fear or anger or pain, but because they never let those emotions define their behavior. This year, make it a goal to train this inner muscle. You won't get it right every time, and that's okay. What matters is the commitment to become more aware, more intentional, and more in control of your emotional world. Because when you master your emotions, you don't just change how you feel, you change how you live, how you lead, and how you show up for others. Emotional discipline is not about avoiding emotion, it's about leading it with purpose. And that is one of the most valuable goals you can set for yourself, not just this year, but for life. Listening better may sound like a simple goal, but in truth, it is one of the most transformative habits a person can develop. Most people think they're good listeners because they hear the words someone is saying. But real listening goes far beyond hearing. It's not about staying silent until it's your turn to talk. It's not about waiting to insert your opinion or rehearsing your response while the other person is speaking. Listening is about being fully present. It's about giving your attention, not just your ears. And in a world where everyone wants to speak, to be noticed, and to be heard, few take the time to truly understand. When you commit to becoming a better listener, you are making a choice to value others' perspectives as much as your own. You're choosing to slow down and make space, not just for words, but for connection. Listening builds trust. It tells people they matter, that their thoughts are worth your attention. And once someone feels heard, something powerful happens. They soften, they open up, they stop defending and start revealing. This is where real communication begins, not in the speaking, but in the listening. The problem is we've been conditioned to prioritize speaking. We associate confidence with being vocal. We reward people who dominate conversations, who are quick to speak, quick to respond, quick to assert themselves. But some of the most impactful individuals in the world are not those who speak the most. They are those who listen with intention. Listening isn't passive. It's an active discipline that requires humility. It requires the willingness to accept that you might not know everything, that someone else's experience has something valuable to teach you, and that you don't need to prove your point in every conversation. To listen better means to go beyond the surface. It means noticing tone, body language, pauses, and what's not being said. Sometimes the most important part of a message lies in the silence between words. That's where emotional truth resides. And if you're too busy rushing to respond, you'll miss it. Most conflicts aren't caused by disagreement, they're caused by feeling misunderstood. And most relationships don't fall apart from lack of communication, but from a lack of meaningful listening. When people feel unseen or unheard, disconnection grows. But when they feel acknowledged, even difficult truths can be faced with grace. This goal also challenges you to let go of the need to be right. True listening is not about agreement, it's about understanding. You don't have to adopt someone's belief system to validate their perspective, but you do have to listen if you want to understand it. And understanding doesn't weaken your position. It strengthens your humanity. It builds empathy, which is not just a nice quality to have, it's a leadership necessity. When you understand someone's struggle, their fears, or their motivations, you can respond with wisdom instead of judgment. Listening also changes the way you influence others. People don't follow those who speak over them, they follow those who see them. When you take the time to really listen, you invite others to be more open, more honest, and more willing to engage. And that creates a culture, whether in a team, a relationship, or a community, where ideas can be shared freely, where problems can be solved more effectively, and where growth can happen more naturally. Listening becomes the foundation for better decisions, deeper relationships, and stronger collaboration. It's also important to understand that listening to others often starts with learning how to listen to yourself. That means creating moments of silence in your day, not filling every gap with noise, distractions, or opinions. When you slow down enough to hear your own thoughts, to reflect without judgment, to observe what's happening inside you, you become more capable of doing the same for others. The people who listen best to the world around them are often the ones who have learned to quiet the world within them. This is where clarity and alignment begin. In every interaction you have, you are either making people feel heard or ignored. There is rarely any in between. And over time, those moments of attention or neglect accumulate. They shape your relationships. They define your leadership. They determine whether people trust you or just tolerate you. When someone talks to you, they're not just sharing information, they're sharing themselves. And how you receive that offering determines whether they'll come to you again or whether they'll retreat into silence. Make no mistake, being a great listener doesn't mean you stop contributing. It means your contribution becomes more relevant, more thoughtful, and more impactful. Because now, instead of guessing what matters to people, you've taken the time to understand it. You've replaced assumption with awareness. And from that place, you're no longer just exchanging words. You're building bridges. That's what real listening does. It connects us, it heals misunderstandings, and it transforms the way we relate to each other one conversation at a time. Building routines that support your growth is not about controlling every second of your day. It's about creating a structure that allows you to consistently show up as the person you aspire to be. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It's not the result of one big moment or a sudden burst of inspiration. It's the quiet, deliberate outcome of what you do repeatedly. And routines are the invisible framework holding up everything you hope to become. When your days are shaped by intentional actions rather than reactions, you give yourself the best possible environment to evolve. Most people underestimate the power of a simple routine. They think growth requires something dramatic, complete life overhaul, a breakthrough, or a wave of motivation. But the truth is, your future is hidden in your habits. The small decisions you make every morning, the way you spend your quiet moments, the things you choose to prioritize when no one is watching, these are the things shaping your identity. It's not just about productivity. It's about alignment. Are your routines helping you live in alignment with your values, your goals, your purpose? Or are they just keeping you busy? Routines are not meant to make life rigid or boring. They are meant to anchor you in a world full of distractions. Every day you're faced with choices, and every choice has a cost. If your routine isn't intentional, you will default to whatever is easiest, most urgent, or most distracting. But when you've designed a routine that supports your values, you can live with more clarity and less regret. You don't have to wonder if you're making progress, because progress becomes part of your lifestyle, not just something you chase sporadically. Think about your mornings. How do you start your day? Are you reactive, checking your phone, rushing through tasks, letting stress dictate your energy? Or are you intentional, taking time to prepare your mindset, your priorities, and your focus? The first moments of your day set the tone for everything that follows. A strong morning routine isn't about doing what everyone else does. It's about choosing what sets you up to lead, to think clearly, and to act purposefully. It might be reflection. It might be movement. It might be silence. What matters is that it's yours and it aligns with your goals. Evening routines matter just as much. They are the closing rituals of your day. They signal to your brain that it's time to slow down, to reflect, to release. When your day ends in chaos, your mind never fully resets. But when you end your day with rhythm and care, you create space to recover, learn, and prepare. This is where growth multiplies, not just by what you do, but by how well you rest, process, and recharge. Your evening is not just about sleep. It's about setting yourself up for tomorrow's success. Building supportive routines also means identifying what needs to be removed. Growth is not just about adding more to your schedule. It's about subtracting what no longer serves you. That includes distractions, unhealthy habits, energy, draining behaviors, and even people who pull you away from your values. You have to protect your time like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Your routine should be a filter, not a funnel. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything is urgent. Your routine should reflect what truly matters, not just what demands your time the loudest. One of the greatest benefits of a well-built routine is that it frees up mental energy when you don't have to constantly decide what to do next, when your key priorities are embedded into your daily rhythm. Your brain has more space to think creatively, to solve problems, and to lead effectively. This is why so many high performers simplify their daily decisions. They understand that discipline and routine creates freedom in thought. And that freedom is where your best ideas, your strongest insights, and your most authentic actions come from. The goal is not perfection. Your routine will evolve as you grow. There will be days when things fall apart, when the plan doesn't work, when you slip. That's okay. The strength of a routine isn't found in never missing. It's found in always returning. When you build routines around who you want to become, you give yourself a path back, no matter how far you drift. You don't have to restart from zero every time life gets messy. You simply return to the rhythm that reminds you of your purpose. Every person who achieves something meaningful has a system, not because they're obsessed with control, but because they've recognized the cost of randomness. Growth requires consistency, and consistency is nearly impossible without structure. Routines are not about doing more. They are about doing what matters most, consistently and deliberately. If you want to grow this year, don't just hope for better results. Build better routines. Because the life you want is not found in distant dreams. It's hidden in the things you choose to do every single day. Becoming a better communicator is not about being louder, more articulate, or more persuasive. It's about being clearer, more authentic, and more connected to the people you are speaking with. Communication isn't just the act of transferring information, it's the act of creating understanding. And in a world where noise is constant and attention is scarce, the ability to communicate with precision and presence is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Setting the goal to improve how you express yourself is not just about getting your point across. It's about building relationships, influencing responsibly, and leading with intention. Most people think communication begins with speaking, but in reality, communication begins with awareness. It starts with understanding your audience, who they are, what they care about, how they listen, and how they feel. When you take time to consider not just what you want to say, but how it will be received, you shift from pushing information to creating connection. The best communicators don't speak to impress, they speak to connect. They aren't obsessed with being right. They're committed to being understood. That difference changes everything. When you communicate well, you remove friction. Misunderstandings are reduced. Assumptions are challenged. Conflicts are addressed instead of ignored. Strong communication creates alignment, whether in a team, a relationship, or a community. It allows people to move forward together. Without it, even the best ideas fall flat. You can have the most brilliant strategy in the world, but if you can't explain it in a way that resonates with others, it goes nowhere. Communication is the bridge between intention and impact. Without that bridge, your ideas never reach their full potential. Being a better communicator also means being intentional with your words. Words carry weight. They can build trust or erode it. They can encourage or discourage. They can inspire action or create confusion. The way you speak reflects the way you think. If your words are vague, defensive, or inconsistent, people will feel it. But when your words are grounded in clarity, empathy, and purpose, they have the power to move people, not just intellectually, but emotionally. That's where real influence lies, not in the facts you know, but in the way you make others feel seen, heard, and valued. It's important to remember that tone matters just as much as content. Two people can say the same words, but the one who speaks with presence, calm, and conviction will always have more impact. Your tone communicates your internal state. If you're tense, impatient, or dismissive, it doesn't matter how accurate your words are. People will feel that energy and shut down. But when you speak with curiosity instead of judgment, when you ask questions instead of making assumptions, you create safety. And where there is safety, there is openness. People respond to how you make them feel long before they process what you said. Being a better communicator also means becoming a better listener. The best conversations are not performances, they are mutual explorations. When you genuinely listen, you learn how to speak more effectively. You understand what matters to others, what confuses them, what motivates them. That information makes your communication more relevant and more impactful. Listening isn't the opposite of speaking, it's the foundation of it. You cannot communicate well if you're not willing to first understand what others need and where they are coming from. In difficult conversations, communication becomes even more critical. These are the moments when emotions run high, when trust is fragile, when the margin for error is small. In these situations, clarity and compassion must rise together. It's not enough to say what's true. You must say it in a way that respects the other person's dignity. You must separate the issue from the identity. Attack the problem, not the person. This requires maturity, restraint, and presence. But when done well, it transforms conflict into collaboration and tension into growth. Effective communication is not about sounding impressive, it's about being real. Authenticity is your most powerful tool. When you speak from a place of honesty and humility, people sense it. You don't need perfect grammar or polished delivery to earn trust. You need sincerity. You need the courage to say what matters, the patience to explain it well, and the wisdom to know when silence speaks louder than words. As you work toward becoming a better communicator, don't just focus on what you want to say. Focus on the effect you want to have. Do you want to inspire, to inform, to challenge, to support? Your intention should guide your expression. The goal is not to speak more, it's to speak better. And better communication doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how they see themselves. When you speak with clarity and purpose, you help people make sense of their own thoughts and feelings. You become a mirror that reflects understanding, a voice that clarifies confusion, a presence that calms noise. That's the kind of communication that matters. And it's a skill worth building every single day. The true power of setting goals lies not in how much we can achieve, but in who we become in the process. These 8 goals are not about impressing the world. They're about aligning with what matters most within us. When you seek to understand your why, master emotional discipline, become a better listener, build intentional routines, communicate with clarity, simplify your life, develop resilience, and contribute beyond yourself, you begin to lead from the inside out. This is not just personal development, it's personal alignment. The more connected you are to your purpose, your principles, and your presence, the more impact you create, not through force, but through example. Let this year be the one where your goals aren't just written. They're lived, embodied, and expressed through the way you show up every single day. Because when your growth is rooted in depth, everything you build will stand on a foundation that lasts.